Welcome to the Read Report. Thank you guys for taking this time to hear me out on this day. Today, I want to talk about a sensitive subject, a subject that will upset people. It's about double standards. I know people don't like to hear it, but we always say that we have to have the uncomfortable conversations. And I think this is one of those topics that it's uncomfortable to talk about. People can say that it's dividing and why are you pitting black men and black women against each other when that's not the case. I just want to talk about a double standard here, in this world pretty much. And it's not so much black men and black women, but So we all know about the news of Simone Biles. She withdrew from the Olympics after citing, mental health reasons. She is an accomplished Olympian. A lot of people been saying, I really don't follow gymnastics like that, but people saying that no matter what, she's the greatest of all time. No matter what would have happened in Tokyo, it doesn't affect her legacy. And that's, something that's great to hear. Seeing some of her accomplishments, she's won what it says 4 Olympic Games, 4 gold medals, 19 World Championships, 27 goals in total. So we know that she's very accomplished, and I just wanted to point that out. That I am, I am considerate of her situation, but I still feel this topic is important to talk about. Because we always talk about equality in sports and in life in general. But when it comes to this world, they never really practice what they preach. Shout out to Barry White. Because you see the support she's getting from coming out saying this. A lot of these people that are coming out talking about their mental health. But when you look at the double standard in that, it just makes you realize just how little black men in particular mean. And yeah, like I said, I'm going there. Feel free to comment whatever you want. Whether you care or not, believe it or not, want to hear it or not, I'm still going to say it. When you look at her situation and the people supporting her, that's fine. But look at the double standard. When Paul George came out and said these things, he was grilled for it. He was criticized for it. People were still talking trash, about him and everything, and criticizing him for coming out just basically about going through these things while in the bubble last fall. And I just think that when you always want to talk about equality and how the athletes and men and women aren't treated the same. Like when you think about the coverage on athletes on these debate shows and just sports talk shows, no one is going to say anything like that, as well as they shouldn't, about Simone Biles, about her problem. Of course, I think there's some, I don't think it's any mainstream, but I think there's some people, I'm sure she has some people, criticizing her for withdrawing from the Olympics. That's the word they're using, withdrawing. Because again, if this were say Ben Simmons, we saw what happened with him. He was just playing terrible. But if Ben Simmons had said, guys, I can't do this, if he couldn't finish the series against the Hawks and said, guys, I can't do this, unfortunately I'm going through this and it's affecting my mental health and blah blah blah, and he decided to leave the rest of the playoffs, they wouldn't be using the word withdraw. They would say he quit on his team. Again, uncomfortable conversation. People say it's dividing, but it's just the truth. You would say that Ben Simmons is a quitter. If Paul George would have left the bubble before they got eliminated, we would say Paul George quit on his team. And even when you look at, I think last year, or earlier this year or something, Dak Prescott came out talking about his mental health situation, losing his brother committing suicide. And Skip Bayless kind of criticized Dak because it was a selfish reason. He said, I don't want the starting quarterback, because he's a Cowboy fan. We all know this. When it comes to Skip, he strikes me as a guy who don't care about anything unless, he just care about the athletes playing. He don't care about what they're going through. In my opinion, allegedly, I think he don't care about what they're going through. He just wants them on the court or on the field, whatever sport he's interested in. But he was talking about how he doesn't want his quarterback coming out talking about these things. And no one really said anything. It was trending on Twitter, but he didn't get in trouble. He didn't have to pay a fine or whatever happens. He didn't have to do any of that. And that all comes back to because of who Dak is. Dak, he's mixed, but he's a black man. And you can say that about black men and get away with it and no one will say anything. They will trend on Twitter, there will be outrage, but no one has to pay consequences or suffer consequences for criticizing us. And that's why they could never be, in a way equal when it comes to sports, because women will not get criticized the same way as men. If you come out, we always talk about how Shaq was overweight and all of that. And people can go on television and call him fat and say, oh, he was overweight, get his fat behind in the gym, these fat linemen. Can you imagine saying that about a WNBA player? Calling her fat, saying that she's overweight, she needs to lose weight, and that's the reason she's struggling on the court and not being able to get up and down the court? You can't say that. If it's the issue, then it needs to be said. And that's just the truth about it. You don't have to say it in a mean way. But if you're going to say it about the men, and if you want to be equal, you have to say it about the women. Say it about the women too. Because there are certain things about the women that you can't say, and that's why people will never. It's hard for people to say anything about whatever sport it is they're playing, because you can't criticize them the same way you criticize the men. Simone Biles will not get crucified the way Paul George was crucified. If Ben Simmons come out right now and say that he was going through something mentally, people would still laugh at him. They would still laugh at him and say, no, you're just a horrible free throw shooter. We don't want to hear nothing you're going through. Your sport, sometimes it doesn't work because it's like a movement. And when you force a movement on people, they won't accept it if they don't want to. I'm not saying that give men this leeway. Be easier on men. No, I don't want you to be easy on me, because I know that as a man, if I don't perform, then I don't get paid. If I'm not doing what I have to do, no one is going to feel sorry for me. And that's something that I can accept. So I'm not saying this to say, oh, have that same energy when you come to the men. I'm saying it to say, if she were a man, she would be getting crucified right now. But the world has made it to where they want to have these movements. They want to push these agendas, and it comes back and it backfires because it's so much confusion in it that sometimes you end up just, speaking all around and doing things that go against what you claim to believe in. That's the problem with agendas and some of these movements. So no, don't give me this excuse as a man. Because Michael Jordan, he could have never walked off that court in the NBA Finals because he wasn't feeling well. No one would have sympathized with Michael Jordan had he done that. No one with the flu game. They would have called him a quitter. If Paul George had never come back to play basketball after what happened to him in the exhibition Olympic game, they would have said he was a quitter, he was afraid, he was a punk. If Klay Thompson never comes back, you would say the same thing about him. If he said, I have a mental block and I don't think I can do it anymore. He would have I think he would have some Warrior fans that would just turn on him. So as a man, we're not allowed to go into the world, and because we having some type of issues, we say, oh, you know what, I quit, I'm out. Because the world wouldn't give us that excuse, and they shouldn't, because we were born to take that position to be the ones that are dependent on. So I don't come here saying this about this situation to say give men that same pass. But I do wish Simone Biles the best. But it is something that I have to talk about, that I was going to talk about because it was important to talk about. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to hear me out, and like, share, comment, subscribe. Until then, peace.